Beyond words, the evolution of the public library begins here, now, with you. Libraries have long been held in high esteem in our communities for their free access to knowledge, empowering people, providing the tools and the resources that they need to be successful. Public libraries have played significant roles in all of our communities. I can remember when I was little, my mother would take my sister and I to the Fletcher branch of the Little Rock Public Library. We would crouch among the shelves, we would look for the materials, we would find the things that we loved, we would take them home, we would check them out first and hear the chunk, chunk, chunk of the manual checkout. We would take them home, then we would bring them back, and then we'd get some more. We would borrow more, and then we would bring them back. And the library was very good at supporting that very transactional model of what we needed. Borrow some materials and bring them back. And this was very empowering in our communities. It supported a model of education and empowerment that was really based upon a method or thought around literacy that was simply reading, writing, and basic numeracy. Those were the vital technical skills that fueled our communities, fueled our cities, fueled our states. And for many years, that traditional model of literacy was what we built our success upon. But the tectonic plates of our cultures are changing. The internet and digital information has changed the way we engage with both the workplace, the home place, the play place, our social spaces, and our libraries must change to support this new model of literacy. Now it's very common to hear people talk about digital literacy. We hear people talking about civic and social literacy, government literacy, health and medical literacy. I would add that we're also talking about tactile literacy in many spaces, maker spaces, where people are making things with 3D printers. So there's a very broadening definition of what literacy is, and if we think of literacy in terms of giving us the skills to be successful in a demanding workplace, our public libraries have to evolve to support these new definitions of literacy. The public library as a free, open place where anyone can come. Think of it as the last democratic institution in our communities. It doesn't care where you came from, how much money you earn. It is the one place where we can all gather together, even playing field, and have access to the knowledge, the skills, the entertainment, and the things that make our communities relevant, powerfully relevant. And so our libraries have to evolve. We can no longer just stay in that transactional model. We have to embrace the new literacies, broaden our scope. While we do that, we must also honor the past. It's not suggesting that we no longer be materials-based. Books, DVDs, print materials, those things will always be a part of what libraries are, but they must go beyond. We have to move into new spaces. We have to become beyond your parents' library. Each of you must help in that effort. This is where each of you can play a vital role in moving your public library into a new space. And so how do you do that? You must demand that your public library provide not just print early literacy materials for our youth, but you must demand that they provide digital access to the resources that are all available online, that are going to help them thrive. If we look at the homework that's being sent out in our public schools, private schools, charter schools today, much of it requires that we all be online. Your public library needs to be able to support that. Your public library needs to also expose our youth to vital, relevant programming, scientists, doctors, lawyers, STEM educators, artists, Brian and Bernice. Our libraries need to continue to provide our young people exposure to these talents, these skills, in order for us to remain powerfully relevant. But we can't stop just at the youth. We must also challenge our librarians to provide programs that challenge your ideas, that make you think differently, that expose you to different ways of approaching your day-to-day life, that challenge you about the 2-minute rule of picking up or opening your mail and getting that little 2 minutes of work done to unclutter your life. Those are the relevant skills that we as adults need to be presented with, and we can do that through our public libraries. Demand that from your library. Demand that your library move into spaces that provide those technical skills that the young people are going to need to be relevant in the workplace tomorrow. Insist that your library provide a space where we can look at virtual reality and learn to code in that space. Teach us and expose us to audio recording skills, video recording skills, simulators that teach us how to drive forklifts, that teach us how to fly planes. It's the space that you must demand that your library provide for you. Demand that your library provide space for people to gather together, to work together, to study together, to play together, to socialize. We spend so much of our lives in our digital devices that we find our public library should be a space where we can gather together in small groups and large to socialize, to practice a hobby, to visit with each other, to work together. Your library, your public library should provide you that space. You should demand that. You should demand that your library provides you access to all the resources for you to be able to learn about your family history, your heritage, Ancestry.com, 23andMe, maybe the collection of birth records or death records in the community. Your library should be able to help you connect to your past, to your heritage. State history, local history. Those things are vital and those things are important. They're helping us maintain a powerfully relevant role, and you should demand that from your public library. Public libraries should go outdoors. You should demand that your public library provide you opportunities to connect with nature where you can. Connect to the science that helps us understand nature, our climate, animals. No one said that our technical future and present is mutually exclusive from the natural world in which we live. And it is vitally important that we start in the public library at an early age providing access to those resources in those spaces in the library. Many of us live in communities that have food insecurity. We have young people who are attending school who may not know where their next meal may come from. They may not know when they go home in the afternoon how to prepare a healthy snack for themselves. They may not have the skills to survive on their own until that parent or caregiver is back in order to help them make good choices. Your public library can fill that gap. You should demand that your public library provide classes, introduce students to people in the community who can help them learn how to prepare healthy snacks and foods for themselves. How they can learn how to read a recipe and measure out the food items and the ingredients that they need. That's what you should be demanding from your public library. Again, we want to honor our past as libraries, as spaces with the materials to provide us all of the resources we need. We need to honor that. We need to celebrate where we are today. Some of us have the luxury of being in more advanced libraries that are pushing the boundaries, but we should demand it of all. But we should also celebrate and look forward to and embrace a future where your public library is continuing to elevate itself as one of the democratic, vitally, powerfully relevant institutions in your community. We cannot settle. So how do you help? First, get a library card. Everybody should have a library card and use it. You should attend the programs that your library offers on a weeknight, on a weekend. Attend the programs that they have and make suggestions for things that you would like for them to present. You should connect to your library leadership. You should challenge them. You should let them know what you think are the key ingredients to a successful community. That's where you can step in. You can volunteer. You can introduce your library leadership to powerful people in the community who can help find the resources to pay for these initiatives. That's where you can play a role. That's where you must play a role. You must demand more of your library. That is your power. Beyond words, the evolution of the public library begins here, now, with you. Thank you.